There are different schools of thought on how to use the Jake brake in a truck. A lot of guys switch them on in the morning as soon as the truck's warmed up and leave the Jake brake switch on all day. That's one way to do it. Myself, I always found, because frankly sometimes when I shifted without the clutch, the Jake brake would interfere with my shift because it would engage in the middle of my shift and mess me up. So I always tended to apply the Jake brake as was needed rather than leave it on all day. In the old days, before electronic motors, if you left the Jake switch on and went into the truck stop for coffee, the Jake brake would sputter away and eventually kill the engine in some instances. So I got used to shutting it on and off years ago as I needed it. But these days with the electronic motors, you can leave the Jake brake on and go in and leave the truck idling, go in, get out for a minute, and it won't engage. The Jake brake won't engage below a certain RPM on the new electronic motors. I took one of the new ISX Cummins motors for a drive the other day, and I was surprised at how ineffective the Jake brake was in that truck. Now, I don't know whether it was because of the muffler system or a combination of the Jake was weak on that motor or what, but I couldn't even tell if the Jake had engaged in that truck, and it certainly didn't slow me down at all. It kind of made like a little sputtering noise in the background, but it really didn't work at all. And a Jake brake is meant as an engine brake to aid you in stopping the truck. So if these new electronic motors coming out don't effectively have good use of the Jake brake, I think that's a real error on the engineer's part. This truck here, when you throw the Jake on, especially in third position, it'll slow the truck down, and certainly I can tell when the Jake brake's engaged. And I can just wind my way down through every gear as I'm trying to slow down. And as I'm doing that, I'm leaving the Jake on by using the clutch every time so it doesn't mess up my downshifts. And I like to bring my motor down low before I shift. Cats are a low revving motor. And it really does drag the truck to a stop. Now, a Jake brake that strong, if you're on ice, you've got to be careful with it. There's no doubt about that. But the Jake brake has different positions of strength. So you can use it in position 3, 2, or 1, high, medium, or low. So here's engaged, on and off. And here are the 3 positions: high, medium, and low. But I run mine on high because that's what I use it for. I use it to help me stop. So the stronger the better. And in slippery conditions, all you do is reposition the switch to use it on a lower setting if you're uncomfortable with the grab on ice or the lack of grab on ice. So as I said before, some guys just leave them on all day. I just learned to use it as needed, so I prefer to shut it on and off as I use it. But there's no right or wrong way anymore with the electronic motors. One thing you do want to be sure of, though, is when you're using the Jake brake, that you've done a good circle check in the morning and that you are not low on oil, because an engine that's low on oil and then using the Jake, that hurts the motor. Something else you don't want to do is use the Jake when it's cold. Again, that can hurt the engine. So make sure the engine's warm before you start using it. Make sure you've got plenty of oil in the engine. And the Jake brake will be the handiest tool in all sorts of situations. I use it. I've had guys say, oh, you can't use it in the winter or in the rain. I use it all year long. I run the mountains. I run lots of snow. You've just got to be careful with it. You've got to have the truck pointed straight a lot of times when you're using it in third position. If the road conditions are slippery, you don't want to use it on a corner if the roads are greasy. ever come up with for big trucks.